Your ego wants it more than you. Hear what I said? Your ego wants it more than you. And when I say ego, it can be looked at in many ways. It can be looked at as the lower self. It can be looked at the dark energy. From the yin and yang, we have the light and the dark. When you start to look at anything and everything as energy, you start to realize that in this life, a very important thing is to have the balance. It's to balance the light and the dark. And that's why the yin and yang is the light and the dark. When you find harmony, when you find the ma'at, that's when you're able to commune through this life clearer, easier, more with flow, you know? Now a lot of us have been through a lot of things, you know, being in this society is programmed for us to experience a lot more darkness than light. So naturally, within us, what we project because of what we have been taking in has been majority darkness, you know? So when the majority that you've experienced is darkness, everything that you look at in this world is going to be looked from the lens of darkness, you know? And I'm saying all of this because once you start to want to better yourself, or just being present right now in a moment, what you're doing for yourself right now, people think that they're just doing things that it's in their mind, they're doing what they feel to do, but they don't know that that feeling is coming from their ego, from their lower self, from their past self, because that's what they're more used to. So your ego wants comfort more than you want to elevate right now, and that's only because you've been in the negative state for longer. So that's why I said you have to look at everything as energy, because once you start to reprogram your mind, start to raise your frequency, start to allow more light in you, and you start to balance the dark and the light more, you'll start to be able to view things more from a balanced perspective, or from a lighter perspective, because you're not only now pouring into the negative, you're starting to pour into the light. And whatever you feel, you reflect. And the thing about thoughts and emotions is it can stay in a loop for your whole life if you don't make the change. And people think that's just them, that's just that's just their norm, but that's not the case. That norm is coming from a place of trauma, it's coming from a place of pain, it's coming from a place of low vibration and low frequency energies, you know? So once you start to better yourself and you start to have thoughts of, I can't do this, or this feels hard, and all of this that makes you want to give up or want to quit, you have to realize that that's coming from your negative thought patterns that you've had in the majority of your life. That is not you. Your job now is to reprogram yourself, you know? If I'm in the gym and I have one weight on this hand and one weight on this hand, and this weight is heavier and this weight is lighter, which arm is going to be stronger? This arm is going to be stronger because this has more weight, you know what I mean? So the output, the energy that I'm putting in is more. So now if you up the intensity of this, it's going to be stronger. And what happens? You can't have two different weights, or else your body's just going to be a bit like deformed, you know what I mean? You have to have both of them, and you have to work on it together to have the balance, you know what I mean? So that's the same for the energy. And once you start to realize that, you start to see that a lot of things that you're thinking, let's say anxiety, that you're even projecting into the near future or to the far future, is coming from a place of your past pain and trauma. So it's important that your present self now wants it more than your ego, you know what I mean? Because the way I'm seeing it right now, I could be wrong, the present self is like the balance between the dark, which let's just say right now is the ego and the lower self, and the light, which is the higher self. So now your present self, you can't let yourself get dragged back into the dark. So if you've been getting yourself dragged back with negative thoughts and negative emotions and negative patterns that you're doing, that's making you in return have these negative thoughts and negative patterns, because that's the thing. We have thoughts, we have negative thoughts and negative emotions that make us in return do negative things, which makes us experience negative things, which then again gives us more negative thoughts, because we're now experiencing the things that we projected, but we only projected it because we thought of it. You know what I mean? So it's important, whatever you think is what you're gonna attract. You know what I mean? And that's why the loop can stay, it can stay constant. There's people who never get out of the cycle in their life. So it's important now to go extra hard on pouring from your higher self, you know? So that's when you need to start doing research and start thinking about what would my higher self be, you know what I mean? And our higher self is more connected to the Most High. So we need to start living life thinking each day in and day out, what would the Most High do in this situation? You know what I mean? Because we come from the Most High. At the end of the day, we're human, we're spirits having a human experience, you know, and our spirit comes from the Most High. So when you start thinking in that perspective, you're thinking from your higher self, because your higher self is connected a lot stronger to the Most High. Our lower self is connected a lot more to this physical reality, to our flesh. That's why the lower our frequency, the lower our vibration, we have more fleshly desires, you know, of lust, of gluttony, of anger, you know. So once you start pouring into yourself from a higher perspective, you start to see things more balanced, you know. That ego, that shadow self is never gonna go whilst we're having this human experience. It's part of us, but we need to realize that it's a part of us, you know what I mean? It's not you. A lot of people live their whole lives in their ego, but a lot of people don't realize that, or they can't distinguish themselves from the ego, you know? So that's why I'm just trying to make people aware of this and be aware of your higher self. So when you think of that perspective, you're now shifting the scale again to find balance. You gotta want it. You gotta want it. We have the south node, we have the north node. Do your research on that. A lot of people in their ego, they're gonna go to the south node. We're here, like people who wanna be great and wanna be divine and be divinely guided. We're trying to go to our north node. To go to our north node, we need to be lighter in our energy, lighter in our thoughts, more pure and authentic with our intentions, more loving, more grateful. You know, grateful, and being grateful and being loving is one of the highest frequencies we can feel. So we need to pour that into ourselves, and then pouring that into ourselves will allow that to pour into others. And once you put that energy out there, that's the energy that you're gonna start getting back. You know what I mean? When you're thinking about what kind of energy is being brought into your life, or what energy you're attracting, you need to think to yourself, what energies are you putting out because of the thoughts and emotions that you're feeling? It all starts with you. Everything you're experiencing, this whole reality, is a reflection of you. We're all one. To change your reality, to change your surroundings, you gotta change how you think. Change how you think and change how you feel. Once you supercharge your thoughts, that's the manifestation right there. So it's up to you. It's all energy. You can supercharge and manifest the negative. You can supercharge and manifest the positive. But that choice and that intention, day in and day out, is going to determine the path and the journey that you go to and how you live your life. Peace and blessings.